On a sweltering afternoon in 2018, Connecticut police officers rushed through the glass doors of a suburban KFC restaurant, their footsteps echoing against the linoleum floors. Startled employees froze mid-task as officers scanned the dining room. Their target sat quietly in a corner, an elderly man whose decades-old secrets were about to unravel. As they approached, he raised his weathered hand slowly, confirming what months of investigation had revealed. He was Alan, a fugitive who had disappeared from Toronto 31 years earlier with his 6-year-old son. But this wasn't just another fugitive arrest. It was the culmination of one of North America's longest-running parental abduction cases, a story of loss, deception, and an unbreakable mother's love. The story's beginning traces back to 1987, when Toronto was experiencing an unusually warm June. Lyneth stood outside a dollar store on Islington Avenue, excitement bubbling in her chest as she clutched a newly purchased stuffed lion. Its warm brown eyes reminded her of her son Jermaine's, and she couldn't wait to see his face light up when she gave it to him. She had arranged to meet her ex-husband Alan at 4 p.m. for their routine custody exchange. Though their separation had been difficult, they had managed to maintain a shared custody arrangement that seemed to work, keeping Jermaine's well-being at the center of their decisions. As the minutes ticked by, 4:09, 4:15, 4:20, the knot in Lyneth's stomach grew tighter. She watched a happy family walk past, a young boy perched on his father's shoulders, their laughter a painful contrast to the growing silence of her wait. When the clock struck 4:30 with no sign of Alan or Jermaine, her maternal instincts screamed that something was terribly wrong. The stuffed lion slipped from her trembling fingers as she rushed to her car, fumbling with her phone to call the police. That moment marked the beginning of a 3-decade nightmare that would consume her life. The initial investigation moved swiftly but hit wall after wall. Alan had vanished completely, leaving no trace of where he might have taken their son. The Missing Children Society of Canada took up the case, working tirelessly to follow leads that consistently led nowhere. Some suspected Alan had fled to the United States, but without concrete evidence, authorities could only speculate. For Lyneth, the years that followed were a cruel exercise in endurance. She kept Jermaine's room exactly as he had left it, his toys and clothes becoming frozen artifacts of her last happy memories with him. Each birthday brought fresh pain, his 7th, his 10th, his 16th, his 21st, as she imagined the milestones she was missing. She watched other mothers celebrate their children's graduations, marriages, and achievements, while she remained trapped in the amber of June 1987, clutching at hope that somewhere, somehow, her brown-eyed boy was safe and healthy. The not knowing was the worst part, Lyneth would later reveal at a press conference. Every time the phone rang, every knock at the door, I thought this might be the moment I'd learn what happened to my baby. But the days turned into years, and still nothing. The breakthrough that would finally crack the case came through Ted Davis, a retired police officer who had dedicated 30 years to the Missing Children Society of Canada. In 2018, Davis attended a cross-border law enforcement conference where he mentioned Jermaine's case during a discussion about long-term missing persons. His presentation sparked fresh interest among American investigators who recognized patterns in the case that matched recent developments in their databases. The investigation revealed an intricate web of deception. Alan had meticulously crafted new identities, eventually settling on the name Haley Randolph D'Souza. He and Jermaine had moved between several states, first New York, then North Carolina, before finally settling in Vernon, Connecticut. Alan had built a seemingly normal life working as a trucker and later an engineer. He had managed to obtain false documentation and establish enough legitimacy to avoid detection for over 3 decades. But the most heartbreaking revelations came after the arrest at KFC. As officers were leading Alan out in handcuffs, a voice called out, "Dad?" Around the corner came a middle-aged man, successful, well-dressed, and bearing those same brown eyes that had haunted Lyneth's dreams for 31 years. It was Jermaine, now 37, who had grown up believing a cruel lie, that his mother had died during childbirth. While Alan had reinvented himself as D'Souza, his son had built an entire life on a foundation of deception, working for the state of Connecticut and creating his own adult identity without knowing his true history. The reunion at Connecticut's airport was a moment that defied description. When Lyneth finally saw her son walking toward her, time seemed to fold in on itself, briefly collapsing the 31-year void between them. "I grabbed him and squeezed his head. I needed to feel if he was real," she later recalled, tears streaming down her face. "I touched him and said, 'Oh my God, my baby.'" Their first conversation wasn't about the lost years or accusations, but about their shared features, the same eyes that had reminded her of him in that stuffed lion so many years ago. The process of rebuilding their relationship brought its own unique challenges. Jermaine, who had grown up to become a vegetarian, faced his mother's traditional cooking with a touching gesture of reconciliation. "You know what, Mommy? Cook the chicken. I'm gonna eat the chicken," he told her, choosing connection over convention. Lyneth, meanwhile, grappled with the complexity of her son's identity. The name she had given him at birth had been replaced by the one his father chose during their years in hiding. "I have to respect the fact that he was a child," Lyneth explained with remarkable grace. "He didn't know anything. What was given to him, he had no choice but to live with that." Still, she admitted that adapting to his new name would always be difficult. "To me, my son has always been Jermaine, so yes, that sticks for me." The legal aftermath brought mixed emotions. Alan faced extradition to Canada to answer for his crimes, while law enforcement officials on both sides of the border celebrated the resolution of this extraordinary case. John Durham, Connecticut's U.S. attorney, summarized the magnitude of the deception. After taking his son away from his son's mother, this defendant is alleged to have lived a lie for the last 31 years in violation of numerous U.S. laws. The case would become historically significant. Ted Banks, speaking for the Missing Children Society of Canada, noted that this is believed to be the longest case in North America, if possibly not the world, where an abducted child is reunited with a parent where they're both in safe condition. For Lyneth, the resolution brought both joy and a platform to inspire others. At a news conference following the reunion, she addressed other parents living through similar nightmares. "I am the proof that after 31 long years of suffering, one should never give up," she declared, her voice strong with conviction. "Be patient, be strong, and believe that all things are possible and that anything can transpire." The story also highlighted the tireless work of organizations like the Missing Children Society of Canada, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and countless law enforcement officials who never gave up on the case. Their persistence across decades and borders ultimately brought a mother and son back together. While Jermaine has chosen to maintain his privacy, declining public interviews as he processes his transformed understanding of his life, he and Lyneth have begun the delicate process of rebuilding their relationship. They cannot recover the lost years, but they can create new memories, starting with shared meals and long conversations about the lives they lived while apart. The stuffed lion Lyneth dropped outside that dollar store in 1987 was lost to time, but what it represented, the unbreakable bond between mother and child, had survived 3 decades of separation to bring them back together. Their reunion, improbably centered around a Connecticut KFC, became a testament to the endurance of maternal love and the possibility that even the coldest trails can lead home. In the end, a father's carefully constructed world of lies gave way to a truth that had waited 31 years to be told. A mother's love never stopped searching, and a son's identity, though changed by time and circumstance, remained connected to his origins through those same brown eyes that had never stopped searching for each other.